Hey guys, Jay Recher here, 620 WDAE. Time for another edition of Bolts Breakdown. Bryan Burns is on the road with the team. He will be joining us here in a second. It's the dad's trip and a really nice start to the road trip for the Tampa Bay Lightning, winning two of their first three games. That first game, pretty tough there in Buffalo, but you know what? They bounced back pretty nicely. A win over the Pittsburgh Penguins on Thursday, and then a thrilling game over the weekend against the Philadelphia Flyers. What an unbelievable matchup that was. The Lightning jumping out to a 5-1 lead, and then Philadelphia clawing their way back to tie it up before tough Tony Cirelli scores in overtime to give the Lightning the 6-5 lead. So we'll bring Bryan Burns here in a second. Let's get him on here. Audio wasn't great when we did this when I was up north visiting family, so we're hoping that it's a little bit better today. So we're trying to add Burnsy. He's in Nashville right now. There he is.
What's up, Bernie? What's going on? How are you?
I'm good, brother. I'm good. Before we get into the
last game,
tell us about the dad's trip. How's the dad's trip going?
Yeah, it's been really good. I joined the trip on Friday, and most of the dads came in that day as well up in Philadelphia. It's been a good time. It's been pretty cool to see, you see these guys come in and you feel like, hey, they look a little familiar, and then you put them next to their son and you can see like the similarities in their face and everything and some of their mannerisms. And it's pretty cool to see that. And then you see like some guys where like Tyler Johnson's dad is a pretty tall guy. He's like 6'3", 6'4", and then Tyler Johnson, is like 5'9", 5'10". So to see the juxtaposition of some of these guys is pretty interesting as well. Adam Ernie's dad is a pretty short guy. He's probably around 5'5", 5'6", and Adam Ernie's, pretty big guy. So that's kind of one thing I found pretty interesting. But yeah, the dads have been having a great trip. We've done some bonding experiences, like going out to dinners and whatnot. I know the dads are going out to I think they're going to the Grand Ole Opry later this afternoon after they finish up with morning skate. So it's been a good trip. It's been a good kind of injection of life, I guess, for these guys, for the players who, it's coming on the end of a long road trip again. And you can kind of drag when you get towards the ends of some of these things, but with the dads around, it's kind of giving them a little bit of life, and everybody's having a good time.
Let's take us through that. Philadelphia Flyers. They go up 5-1. Come back. What was the biggest takeaway?
Yeah, I mean, kind of a tough one in the sense that you felt like the Lightning were just going to coast to victory once they went up 5-1. It was going to be a relatively easy win, and things got away from them a little bit. This has kind of been a bit of a little bit of a theme with this team where they go up by a couple goals into the third period, and maybe they feel like that they've got the game in hand and they start to coast a little bit, and the other team shows a little bit of energy and gets some momentum, and they're able to come back. I think in that Philadelphia game, the one I forget who it was from the Flyers, but it was a little bit up high, and I think it wasn't meant to be high. I just think that Chernak is such a tall guy. When he hit the guy, it kind of came up around his chin, happened around the boards, and once that happened, that really sparked Philadelphia. They were pretty mad about that. I think, being down 4 goals was something they weren't too happy about. And then that hit happened right after that moment. And I think that really sparked them. That kind of got the crowd back into the game. They were able to score on that power play right after that. They got another power play like a minute later. They were able to score on that. And now it's 5-3. There's about 8 minutes left. And they have all the momentum in the world. And it was basically just Louis Domingue kind of holding on for dear life and trying to keep the guys in the lead. The Philly was able to get that game-tying goal, and then Domingue, I thought, made 2 or 3 just incredible saves down the stretch to actually keep that game tied and get it into overtime. And I think once overtime started, the Lightning had a little bit of time to catch their breath. They were able to quell that momentum a little bit, and they pretty much took over that overtime period. And then Anthony Cirelli just kind of speaks to his character and what kind of player he is. Had a shot on it. Was a 2-on-1 with Killorn, kind of messed up the shot, fumbled it around a little bit, stuck with it, was able to maneuver back into the slot and had a really nice shot to win that one. So It wasn't the prettiest of wins, but they came out with 2 points, and in the end, that's all that really matters.
Yeah, without a doubt. Sorry for the audio. Try turning it down a little bit when I'm talking the audio. Because it's good on mine. I think I can hear the audio coming to yours. So sorry with the sound, Scott.
Yeah, technology. It's still not where it needs to be, right?
I know. We did this all year last year. Fine. I don't know. I get an iPhone. What happens? So it's pretty great. Sorry about the sound. Any update on that?
Yeah, nothing really. I mean, he's not on the trip. We haven't really heard anything. It's still, the 4 to 6 week timeline. Expecting him back mid-December to late December. I don't think we're really going to hear anything about that until maybe we start to see him out on the ice for practicing, or we'll probably see him out in the red no contact jersey for a little bit, and he'll start to get skating once he's able to put some weight on that foot. But yeah, still 4 to 6 weeks, so they're going to ride Louis Domingue here for quite a while, and he's played pretty well, and I think he'll pretty much get every start. They don't have any back-to-backs until early December. I want to say, let me see, I got my schedule here. I want to say, December 3rd and 4th is the first set of back-to-backs. So I would think we'd probably see Eddie Pasquale on that December 4th game, and he'll get a chance to make his NHL debut. But yeah, they're going to ride Louis Domingue. He's played really well. He's up for the challenge. He's been a starter in this league before, so this is an uncharted territory for him, and I think he's ready for it.
Without a doubt. Bryan, by lightning. 620 I promise I won't talk. The sound won't be that bad. We'll make the adjustments necessary next time. Bryan, if you're watching both, let us know where you're watching. Put it on there. Make sure you share it on as well. And get everything out for Burns. He's got better audio on Wednesday when we get together. All right, Burns. What the victory for tonight against the National Press?
Yeah, I mean, we said this November 1st when Nashville came to town. I mean, this is the matchup between the two best teams in the NHL, and here we are a couple weeks later, and it's still the two top teams in the NHL, Nashville and Tampa Bay, tied atop the NHL standings with 29 points. Toronto is making a little bit of a push here. They actually overtook the Lightning a couple days ago, and then the Lightning got back in front of them with these last two victories. So Toronto kind of knocking on the door there, 28 points. But you want to see the two best teams. You want to see the best from the East, the best in the West in the NHL right now. Tonight's the night. Tonight's should be a really good matchup here in Nashville. Always a tough venue to play in. It's consistently ranked one of the hardest venues for an away team to come in and get a win. And they always feed off the energy from that crowd, which there's plenty of energy. It's really a ruckus environment in there, and it's one of the better environments in the NHL. So looking ahead to three keys, for me, the biggest key, this is something that we've seen over the last, it started, at the beginning of the year and kind of quelled down a little bit. But again, the Lightning have been taking way too many penalties here in these last few games. And at the beginning of the year, it didn't really matter because the penalty kill was doing so well that they were able to mask some of those silly penalties that the Lightning took. But here lately, the penalty kill has been leaking a little bit of oil. He's given up 5 power play goals over the last 2 games. And I think they're only like 66% for the month of November on the penalty kill. And after starting, they had like 10 games or so where they didn't allow a power play goal. So for me, they just really need to stay out of the box tonight and give the penalty kill a little bit of a breather. They took 5 penalties in the Philly game. They gave up another 2 power play goals against Pittsburgh. So just stay out of the box and limit those opportunities on the power play and let that penalty kill get back to where it was at the beginning of the season. Secondly, for me, we all know how good Nashville's back line is. They have 4 or 5 just outstanding, top of the line defensemen in this league. So for me, they kind of drive that engine as far as the Predators' offense is concerned. They really look for their shot. They look to be offensive minded. So if the Lightning can take away their time and space, not let them get off open shots from the point, not let them drive that offense, just try to be up on them, block shots, getting shooting lanes, things like that. I think that could really be a big key to this game. If they can take away the defensemen from the offensive zone, I think that'll kind of limit what Nashville is able to do in the zone, and they'll be able to keep them off the scoreboard. And then third for me is just continue to feed Braden Point. I mean, my goodness, this guy has been absolutely on fire right now. 5 goals over the last 2 games. He hasn't been able, and you really look at Braden Point. I felt like the 2 games prior where the Lightning lost before this Pittsburgh game, I thought were probably his 2 worst games of the year. He just really didn't make much of an impact on the ice. He wasn't that same defensive minded forward. And the Lightning lost both of those games. And then you see him get back to that style of play that we're used to seeing from Braden Point in these last 2 games. And the Lightning have won both of those games. I think he's a big part of how this team, the fortunes of this team, more so than maybe anybody else. So, Andrei Vasilevsky certainly plays a big role in whether this team's going to win or lose night in and night out. But for me, if Braden Point's on his game, this team's pretty hard to beat. And if he's struggling a little bit, it kind of shows throughout the rest of the team. So get Braden Point the puck early, let him work his magic, get him into the game. And I think if they can continue to feed Braden Point and let him run that offense, I think you'll see some good things from the Lightning tonight.
That's a great point. When you're looking at Braden Point, because it affects the game more than just offense. And you look at a guy like Cooper, Hammer, when they're not scoring, they're not making as much impact as a guy. Point affect the game in so much. My one guy, Cali hat trick. They broke up losing skid there, but there's some good players on the team. Ryan Johansson. Some people don't think he's that good. Be a first line set, but always played pretty well against
Yeah, he is. He's coming off a really good game where he had a hat trick in his last one. He had an even strength goal, a power play goal, and a shorthanded goal when they beat LA here a couple nights ago. So he's definitely one to watch. And this Nashville team, they just have really good players up and down the lineup. They're very similarly built to the Tampa Bay Lightning in that there's not one line that you can key on or one defensive pairing. There's not like a defensive pairing that you can take advantage of and try to get your top line out against those guys. And, they're pretty stacked depth-wise, 1 through 4 in the forward group, and then 1 through 3 in the defensive pairings. So you're probably looking at 2 of the deepest teams in the NHL right now when they lock horns tonight at Bridgestone Arena.
Bryan Burns, the Bay Lightning, Recher 620 WDA. And sorry about the echo. Carry 7. We're gonna work on our guy that's on vacation. What do you want me to do? So Wednesday will be at 8. Friday will be at. We'll take care of it. And we're gonna move forward right now. We got a timing. We're gonna let you guys know out for that. Make sure you let us know where you're watching. Put there at the bottom of the screen. Also share it on Facebook. Make sure that Bernsey talks more than I do. Bernsey, before we go, any update on any other guys?
Yeah, Palat, he's not on the trip, so he's still a little ways away and kind of been forgotten about a little bit. I mean, he had that, it was like 4 weeks, they said a couple of weeks ago. And, the team's been playing pretty well in his absence. Obviously, you want Ondrej Palat back in the lineup, but, I think the 4th line has done a really good job. Specifically, Adam Ernie had a great game against Philadelphia. He's been really good in Palat's absence. And, again, that just speaks to the Lightning's depth, that they're able to lose a valuable player like Ondrej Palat, and they're still able to really not miss a beat. That 4th line was kind of the engine of that game. In the Philly game, I really thought they got things going for the Lightning. The 3rd line, we've all seen what they can do and how, I think they've maybe been the Lightning's best line over, since November. They've really just been aggressive, generating lots of scoring opportunities, playing sound defensively. And then the 2nd line where Ondrej Palat usually plays, Yanni Gourde, Tyler Johnson, and Braden Point. I mean, that's a heck of a 2nd line for any team in this NHL. So I think Palat's still a little bit away. The Lightning have done a really good job of masking his absence. As far as Anton Stralman, I think he'll probably get back in for tonight's game. He practiced yesterday. They had a practice session Sunday at the Nashville's training facility. He's been close. I thought he might even get into the Philadelphia game, but he wasn't out for that one. So we'll see. I've seen him around. He looks good. He looks like he's ready to go. Looked good at practice yesterday. So If I had to guess, I'd say Anton Strom is probably back in the lineup tonight. That's nothing like official or coming from Cooper or anything. That's just me kind of reading through the tea leaves and thinking that he looks like he's probably ready to get back out there. And his dad's on the trip, so he probably wants to play one game for the dad just to make the trip worthwhile.
Of course, his dad lives still.
Yeah, his dad's in Sweden. Hetty's dad's in Sweden. Hetty's dad told me he took 27 hours to get over here with all the connections and everything to get from Stockholm to Philadelphia. But it's funny, you see those two. They're right next to each other. Victor Hedman's dad and Anton Stroma's dad. They're there next to each other watching practice and sharing thoughts and. It's good to see. It's cool to see the dads when they get together, like the little cliques among the dads, and not that there's like groups that don't like each other, but you see like the Swedes are obviously gonna get next to one another because they speak the same language, and it's a little bit easier for them. And a lot of the New York guys, like JT Miller's dad and Ryan McDonough's dad, know each other from way back in the day, and Ryan Callahan's dad, so they kind of get together. It's pretty interesting to see the groups of guys that they kind of hang out with one another on the dad's trip.
Burnsy, good stuff for the rest of your trip.
All right, sounds good, buddy. Take care.
All right, see you. There from Bryan Burns. Hey, look, no echo. I don't know why it does that. We are going to work on it. I promise. The guy here at iHeart that could help me with that, he's at Disney with his family for Thanksgiving, for Turkey Day. So we'll work on that next week. Luckily for us, and for you, you won't have to hear that echo because Burnsy will be back Wednesday. We'll be at Amalie Arena, and then also again on Friday. We're going to move Bolts Breakdown to noon. Yes, we are going to move it to noon. We're going to try to see what we're going to do for Friday because we're going to move it to noon from here on out. But on Friday, I know there's a little bit of a schedule change here at 620 WDAE. So you heard what Burnsy said. Still no Palat. Strawman possibly back in the game tonight. That's a big reason why you got to follow Burnsy. Go to TampaBayLightning.com. Make sure you follow Bryan Burns on Twitter at BBurnsNHL. He's got the best news and notes. Go to TampaBayLightning.com. He's on the trip with all the rest of the dads. Really, really cool trip for the Lightning and for them to have a nice win over the Flyers and hopefully another win tonight in Nashville against the Predators. So Bryan Burns, follow him on Twitter at BBurnsNHL. Follow the team at TB Lightning. Go to TampaBayLightning.com for the best news and notes. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at Recher. Follow the station at 620 WDAE. Go to 620WDAE.com for the best Bolts coverage. I believe the game's back on Fox Sports Sun tonight, and I know it is always up the dial on our sister station 970 WFLA. Remember, where do you watch Bolts Breakdown from? We're trying to compile a big list. At the end of the year, we're going to put a big map up, and we're going to put a little thumbtack in every single city and every single country we watch Bolts Breakdown in. So make sure you let us know. Put it there at the bottom of the screen where you watch it from. Share this on your Facebook so we can get the word out, so we can be the Thunder, distant Thunder, from coast to coast like butter and toast. That was Bryan Burns joining us. Dan, always appreciate your love and support, my friend. One of the best guys to follow, Dan Harajan, as well. We will be back Wednesday from Amalie Arena. I'm Recher. We'll see you guys next time right here on Bolts Breakdown.